Hello. We are live.
All right.
How's everyone doing today? Got a couple viewers in YouTube. So that's cool.
Nice.
I know I'm one of them, and I think you're the other one. So
It's probably just the two of us here. Okay.
oh well.
There we are.
All right.
Now, when you're watching the YouTube stream, is it delayed?
Yeah. There'll
Okay.
be a few seconds delay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because mine was delayed as well. But yeah, I see that Josh and Adam are on YouTube, and I see
Yeah.
Pretzel Rocks. Is that the music that you're playing?
Oh, yeah, that's the music.
Oh, okay. And I see RFB.
Yeah.
Charles Westcott.
Charles Westcott, hey, and RFB. How are we doing today? Saturday afternoon, indeed. The conversations guys are here. Well,
Nice.
one of them.
Yes.
Which is awesome. All right. Put my phone somewhere so it doesn't vibrate the whole time. All right. I'm ready when you are.
All right. Ready to go. Let's get it started here.
All right. You know what? I gotta turn music off first.
Oh, okay.
All right. You know what? I'm actually not recording. That would have been bad.
That would have been really bad.
Yeah, so let's do that. It's a professional podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we should be good.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 24 of the From a Certain Point of View podcast. I am Josh.
I'm Adam.
And Adam, how are you doing this morning?
Doing all right.
This afternoon.
Yeah, I guess. I need a haircut, but I'm doing all right.
I'm so confused about what day and time it is right now. All the days are running together. Every life is a blur right now.
It really is.
I did get my hair cut. My wife,
see that.
shaved it off. I needed it gone.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Feeling
fresh.
I don't want to buzz it, but yeah, I might have to.
Yeah. So what have you been up to in Star Wars this week?
Mainly I finished this guy, the Rise of Skywalker novelization.
Nice.
And loved it. So if you're not in the Discord chat, I'll be talking about it a good bit this weekend. So join Discord and chat away with me about it. And I think in maybe a week, might take a little time off with a book club and then come back in a week or two. And we're gonna jump into Alphabet Squadron. The second of those is coming out in June, I think. So I'm gonna read the first one, and that'll be our next book club book. So
there it is.
Yeah. So that was mainly my week. Watched Clone Wars yesterday, and I hung out with the guys from Friends of the Force on Thursday night. It was their quarantine hangout, and we ranked all of our Star Wars movies, last to first, all 11 live action. So that was a blast, and I'm glad I got to hang out with them. It was a really cool night. So.
Yeah, I'll have to check out that conversation and just I'm curious to see how other people rank the films. I know how I rank them, but I'm curious to see how others do. So it's something I'm looking forward to checking out.
Yep. How was your week?
It's been pretty good. It's been a little light on Star Wars. I've been
Okay.
my wife and I have been rewatching the Mission Impossible movies, which I think just keep getting better and better. Um, so we've been checking those
Yeah.
out. And then as far as Star Wars goes, I did read more of the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker. I'm still behind the book club, and again, I'm a very slow reader. So even though I'm enjoying hearing from you guys in the book club, I'm a little
Yeah.
bit behind. So I'll eventually finish it. And I've been continuing to watch Clone Wars season 5, and then of course yesterday's episode in season 7. Well, now last night I watched the episode called "The Gathering," where Ahsoka takes the
Oh, I
younglings
love that
to
episode.
Ilum,
Yeah.
and Yoda's there, and they're going to get their kyber crystals and everything, and it was so cool. I love that episode, and it was so cool to think about. Oh, I was here in Fallen Order. Just
Mhm.
like when you go to
Looks a little
Dathomir
different. Yep.
in the Clone Wars, it's a little different, yeah,
Mhm.
but familiar. And I really enjoyed that episode. It challenged each of the Jedi younglings,
Yeah.
and kind of taught each of them a different lesson. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. And the only other thing Star Wars was, I actually, in keeping the kids in mind and keeping my students in mind, I did a book reading of The Galaxy Needs You, which is kind of like a story set in the sequel trilogy, and just talking about how each person is unique and they have their own strengths and everything. So I put that out there as well.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So we have some poll results.
We also
from
have
our
a Trivaway winner.
weekly poll, and we do have a Trivaway winner. As far as our poll results go, the question was, what has been your overall experience with Star Wars fandom? And this question was raised basically from our conversation with Dan Zare about positivity in the Star Wars fandom. And here were the results. Completely positive experience was 3% of the vote. Mostly positive came in at 79% of the vote.
Okay.
Mostly negative, 17%. Completely negative, 0%. So mostly positive seems to be the general consensus, and that's where my vote went, because
Same.
my experience with Star Wars fans has been mostly positive.
Same.
I've mentioned in the past about some negative experiences around the Last Jedi and everything, but other than that, my experience at Star Wars Celebration and with the fandom since then has been on Twitter and everything has been pretty positive. So,
Yeah. Same.
any additional thoughts about our poll?
No, not really. Just what we said last week. A lot of it is what you put into it. So.
Yeah.
Put in positivity, and most of the time you'll reap that back. So.
Yeah, I think what you put into it and where you decide to go.
Mm-hmm.
If you're deep in the comment section at YouTube, it might be a little more negative than other places. So,
depends on the channel too.
Yeah, it definitely, for sure. So, yeah, I think people have had a mostly positive experience with the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm very, very happy to be a part of that fandom. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, Adam, would you like to save the Trivaway results for the end of the show, or do you want to do them now?
Yeah, we can do them at the end. Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me as well. So what's coming up on this week's show?
So this week we got some news, and we got Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 8, Together Again, right? Together Again, something like that?
Together Again.
Okay, nailed it. And then Josh and I are going to talk about what order we like to watch Star Wars in, and that's movies, and I'm gonna throw in TV shows. I'm guessing maybe, I don't know if you will too, but yeah, that's what we're up to this week. We are also live on YouTube and Facebook, and we've got some pretty cool people hanging out in the chat. We got Charles Westcott, a rural farm boy, and Scarif Scuttlebutt just joined us, so welcome everyone. Glad to have you here.
Yes, we are.
So yeah, you ready to jump into news?
Let's do it.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
Okay, we've got some exciting stuff to share with you this week to kick off news. First of all, we are now an affiliated podcast with farfarawaynews.com. So that's really exciting. We're going to be sharing some news to you. We're going to bring the news to you every week, and we're going to use farfarawaynews.com for a good chunk of that. But if you haven't checked them out, you haven't followed them on Facebook or Twitter, you should do that. They have, your breaking Star Wars news, and then they've got plenty of original content and reviews and everything like that above and beyond just news. So also, I'll be doing some monthly contributions to them as well, and you'll see some articles from me dropping actually pretty soon. So that was a cool little thing that happened last weekend. We were pretty jazzed about that, and yeah, farfarawaynews.com. You can actually see our logo right on their site now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff, Adam, and I'm really enjoying Far Far Away News. It's kind of new to me, but they really have some great stuff on there, including some great like phone backgrounds and like wallpapers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been sharing some of those.
Yeah, and Adam, I can't wait to see your contributions to the site in the near future as well. Really looking forward to reading those. Our first article this week from Far Far Away News is Luke Hall joins Cassian Andor series, plus a rumored Easter surprise coming to Star Wars fans on Disney. So basically, according to Discussing Film, Luke Hall, production designer for Chernobyl, is set to join the team for the series. He won an Emmy for his work on Chernobyl, so we can expect high quality work, says the article. So first of all, let me say about this news, I really am excited about this because I love Chernobyl.
I actually didn't watch it yet.
Oh man,
I've heard amazing things about it.
It is amazing. If not only the story itself, the reality of what happened there, but the way that it's done is just excellent. It's one of my favorite shows in the past year or so. And it's a mini series. It's like five episodes or 6 episodes, something like that. And it's just so well done. So if you get a chance, check it out. So I'm excited about that. And then we had a cryptic tweet from Steel Wars podcast saying that something Star Warsy is happening on Disney Plus over Easter. So I don't know. This is coming from Steel Wars. I haven't heard this come from any other news sites or anything like that. But if I were to venture a guess as to what's going on, maybe it'll be an early release of The Rise of Skywalker on Disney Plus. That would be my only guess. But Adam, do you have any speculation as to what we could be getting?
No. I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah, me neither, aside from that possibility of maybe it's The Rise of Skywalker on Disney Plus early.
The way he says that, if this is true, Star Wars-y sounds maybe... I don't know how I want to say this, but Rise of Skywalker would be like a major Star Wars thing. Something Star Wars-y makes it sound like it's maybe something else with like a Star Wars theme or twist to it, So, I don't know. We'll see. We're recording this on Saturday, so maybe by the time you listen to this, you'll know if it happened or not. and what it was.
Right. If there's truth to it, well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. So pretty quickly, and our
Yeah.
listeners out there will already know. um, so, are you ready to move on to the next article?
Yeah, and a couple things in the chat real quick. Scarif Scuttlebutt says Chernobyl is chilling even more because it was true, which is 100%.
Yeah. And that's what I said exactly too in the chat because
Yeah.
man, watching that just blew my mind. I mean, I heard of Chernobyl before all this, but I associated it with some kind of, radiation or something like that. But when you watch the show, it's so much more mind blowing that
Yeah.
all the decisions that were made by those that were involved with that whole thing is just mind boggling, and just trying to cover everything up.
Right.
And it kind of rings true to what's going on right now with you know things possibly being covered up or in China and stuff like that. So it's
Sure.
just really eye
Sure.
opening and relevant. um our
And
next article.
the
Oh, go
one more
ahead,
thing
sorry.
real quick about the Disney Plus thing. Rural Farm Boy says Steel Wars isn't usually known for breaking news either, which is true. So
Right.
we'll see what happens with that.
Yep. Yep. Could be nothing, could be something. We'll find
Right.
out.
Yep. Okay, moving on.
All right.
Sorry.
So that's okay. Next up, we have breaking Kenobi series delayed while Cassian Andor remains untouched. So the Kenobi series now has a release year of 2022, and Cassian is still set to release in 2021. And we actually, we caught some news yesterday that they actually had been into pre-production for like
Yeah.
6 weeks or so,
Mm-hmm.
on the Cassian Andor series before the shutdown. So
Right.
they were working on it. This thing is supposed to come out in 2021 still. Hopefully that happens, because again, I'm very excited about this series. So you could
Yeah.
have Mandalorian season 2 this year, Cassian next year, and then Kenobi the following, and I'm sure the Mandalorian will continue. So hopefully those don't get pushed back any further.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Thoughts on this one, Adam?
Not really. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's a little bit even more of a delay. Depends on how fast stuff gets going again after this is all over. So
Right. Yeah, it's potentially a further delay, but hopefully
Yeah.
not. We'll see.
Right.
So next up, we have in related news to our Star Wars TV series on Disney Plus. Taika Waititi was not able to direct any episodes of The Mandalorian season 2,
Yeah.
according to a tweet. And Waititi broke the news during an Instagram live watch party of Thor Ragnarok, explained that he was unable to direct any episodes of The Mandalorian season 2 due to conflicts with his schedule while directing the soccer film Next Goal Wins. So any initial reactions to this news, Adam?
Kind of a bummer. I mean, his Mandalorian season 1, he did the finale, right?
He did.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was one of my favorite episodes by far, easily. And
Yeah.
it's just a little bit of a bummer, but there's going to be scheduling conflicts, and Mandalorian will be fine. But it would have been nice to get another Taika episode. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that it will be fine, but
Yeah.
it is a little bit of a bummer. And
Right.
he did a great job, not only in directing but playing IG-11 as well and
Yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And we'll see if IG-11 ever returns in any way, shape, or form, or if
I mean,
he's
he's
kind
in a lot of pieces.
Yeah. So it would probably
Maybe we'll see
require
G12
a
or
complete
something.
rebuild,
I don't know.
or yeah, something like that.
Yeah. We
But
don't
yeah,
even have
so
Quill around to rebuild him anymore. So
that's what I was thinking too. Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. But, and a lot of fans have been wanting to see Taika direct a Star Wars film, actually. And maybe that'll happen someday as well. We'll see.
yeah, maybe.
So, last up for our news segment this week, we have the title of the article is Ahmed Best believes that kids have been left out of the Star Wars franchise. So his quotes with, and this was an interview with a YouTube personality, Jamie Stangram. He says there isn't very much for the kids anymore in Star Wars. He goes on to say it's very much for the millennials and Gen Xers like myself. Kids are kind of left out of these, and the kids have to go to the animated series in order to get their dose of Star Wars, or they or watch Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace is very much a kids movie. So, what are your thoughts on this, Adam?
I kind of like I see the points that he's making, and especially he leans on the ratings of the last few movies, which have been PG-13, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think I agree with him. I kind of understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the points that he makes is that 12-year-olds can't go see this movie without being accompanied by an adult, and I mean, how many 12-year-olds are going to the movies alone anyway?
Right.
I don't know. He some of the points that he makes with George Lucas, always wanted this to be a kids movie and all that stuff, and I get that totally. But I also see a pretty healthy young fan base out there, and as the years go on, we're gonna hear more from them as they get older and get on social media, and they're gonna be around. But then he mentions the animated series, which is, I mean, you've got some really great stuff there, not just Resistance, but then you've had Rebels in the last couple of years. You've had a new season of Clone Wars. You're going to be getting some more stuff. And then he's hosting his own kids game show on Disney Plus coming up. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't see I think there's been more and better young adult novels in the Disney generation of Star Wars. I think those have been bolstered, definitely. I don't quite see it, so.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, when I first read this, I kind of agreed with him, but then the more I thought about it, and especially, and as he says, and as you said, Adam, you can go to the series, the animated series, and my daughter, who's 3, has really enjoyed Resistance, and
Yeah.
but I also think about the fact that even with the Mandalorian, she was glued to the TV screen.
Yeah,
because of Baby
Mandalorian's a
Yoda.
great family show. Yeah.
And just when we watch The Force Awakens, like you've got BB-8 in there and everything, and
right,
she
and it's also
loves that.
PG-13, but there's nothing overly bad about it,
Right.
A New Hope is is probably more gory than that. When what's his face gets his arm cut off.
Right.
It's laying there with the blood and all that.
Yeah.
You have the Wampa in episode 5. There's some pretty gory scenes with that. I mean, yeah, they're all PG, but I think maybe, I don't see them as being any worse than what we have. Rise of Skywalker, I think, is probably the exception with the Palpatine stuff. It can be pretty tough viewing for a younger kid, I think.
Yeah, and even Revenge of the Sith was PG-13 as well.
Right.
So, I don't completely agree with Ahmed Best here. And just even thinking about like the original trilogy films, there are no like kids in those films. Like it's about young adults and adults. But as a kid, I loved it. I didn't need to see kids in there necessarily. When you have a good story and even a coming of age type story, I think young people can gravitate to that. I mean, even when I think about how much I loved Back to the Future and Ghostbusters and those kind of films when I was a kid, it wasn't because there was kids in those movies, because there weren't. It was about these younger adults or adults, and I still loved it as a kid. So yeah, I just don't agree.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I love Ahmed Best, and I respect him. I'm super excited to see his game show and all that, and I'm glad he's still part of the fandom even after everything he's been through with Star Wars fans in the past. But yeah,
for sure.
I'm not walking step in step with him on this one. So
No, and I think this era of Star Wars with Lucasfilm and Disney and everything, I think they're really trying to target all age groups with their content. I think they're trying to spread the Star Wars love out quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
Charles Westcott in chat says that each generation has a new and different base level for storytelling, which is totally true.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So that is all for the news this week. And I
All
think we're
right.
ready to
Let's do
take a
some-
look at the Clone Wars.
Let's do some Clone Wars.
Good. The show is about to begin.
Okay, season 7, episode 8 was titled Together Again. This is us wrapping up our Ahsoka and the Sisters arc. So I want to start by saying that I actually liked this episode a good bit more than episode 7.
Yeah.
And I'll take that a step further. This episode rendered episode 7 almost totally useless.
For the most part. Yeah.
So right off the bat, Rafa's back to her old tricks because they're back in the jail cell, and we just go right back to the infighting between her and Ahsoka. She leaves off episode 7 by apologizing, and you think that she's turned a corner, but no, she's right back where she was at the beginning of episode 7. So really, honestly, aside from seeing the Mandalorians and learning a little bit about their backstory, which could have been done other places, and we would have been fine. Episode 7 just didn't need to be there,
Right. Yeah. It just it drug the story out a little too much than it needed to be.
This could have very easily been a 3-episode arc, and I think maybe it would have been if it actually was in an actual season. If it actually if the show wasn't canceled and then brought back, and we want 12 episodes and we have 3 arcs, so we'll make them 4 episodes each type thing. I think that this was definitely a 3-episode arc. So, but anyway, so Ahsoka comes up with this lie, and it's played pretty well. I was a little surprised that Trace just didn't get it,
that she didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, I would have expected Rafa to be the one that didn't pick up on it, and Trace being the one to, and maybe the realization, so it finally comes out that Ahsoka's a Jedi, and maybe,
which was only a matter of time, I think.
Yeah. And I was actually up in the air if that was going to happen at all. It's kind of weird that Ahsoka's going to be leaving a bit of a trace, leaving her name attached to being a Jedi with people that live on Coruscant, But anyway, they find out, and maybe that was enough to break Trace's trust, that far that she just didn't pick up on that plan right away. I don't know.
Right.
But she actually gets them off planet, and I think that she meant for them to stay off planet. She gives them one cycle before the Pikes are going to come find them to pick up the spice and bring it back.
Yeah, I believe that was her intention, Adam.
Yeah.
And I think she was probably surprised to see that they came back, and especially Rafa, being the one that kind of, although her intentions were to kind of one up Ahsoka or something like that, or
right.
but yeah, I think Ahsoka's intentions were for them to not come back.
Yeah, it definitely seemed that way.
That being a way for them to get out.
Right. But they do come back because they can't stay out of trouble. So they actually go on this little side quest, and they actually do get some more spice. They go and steal spice again, and I'll be honest, that little side quest, especially with some of the voices of those aliens, was a little grating. But it was cool seeing the Trandoshan boss, and a little bit of a nice little fight scene with them. But they actually do get, and they come back, and we get some more looks at the Mandalorians, and that you were right last week. That's how we're gonna get to Mandalore next episode.
Yep.
And we find out that there is a certain someone waiting on Mandalore, in Darth Maul, or actually Maul. He's not Darth anymore, but
Yeah.
Maul is there, and we got a Crimson Dawn reference, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Hashtag
I
makes
love,
Solo 2 happen.
Yes, I love this. I loved Maul showing up and the
Yeah.
connection with Crimson Dawn and the Pikes, because both the Pikes and Crimson Dawn are obviously referenced and mentioned
Solo.
in Solo.
Mhm.
And just the fact that Maul is behind this crime syndicate and
Yeah.
everything. So I loved that. That was one of my favorite aspects of this episode.
Yeah, agreed. And we actually find out that Maul is the one that's pressuring the Pikes. You know, he's kind of got the dark saber to their neck, for lack of a better phrase.
Pretty much.
But yeah, Maul's on Mandalore, and that's where we're heading next, and that's where the next episode's going to pick up, obviously, for the Siege of Mandalore. But we have Roar Farm Boys in the chat asking, who do we think the third Mando was? We definitely found out that one was Bo-Katan.
Yes.
But what do you think about the others?
I'm not sure. And by the way, is it just me, or did Bo-Katan kind of sound like the armorer from The Mandalorian? And I know it's probably not Bo-Katan, but it just, her voice kind of sounded similar. If before she took her helmet off, I thought, is that the armorer from The Mandalorian? Like, it just sounded like the voice was similar.
Yeah.
But I was excited to see that it was Bo-Katan, and I'm not sure who the other two might be, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Good
don't know either. I just thinking of some names. There's Paz Vizsla, which is in Mandalorian, and he's Pre Vizsla's son. So I don't know if maybe, I don't know.
Right.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But she does say that Death Watch is dead, and there's nothing that Ahsoka has to fear from them. But they have a common enemy, and that's how we transition to the Siege of Mandalore. So, and Scarif's in the chat saying that there was a rumor that they were going to end up being the same character, and I imagine he's talking about Bo-Katan and the armor.
And the armor, yeah. I mean, I could see that. I would enjoy that.
Yeah.
Especially with the dark saber being involved in the show now and everything. So.
Yep. So let's talk about the fortune cookie a little bit, and that was you can change who you are, but you cannot run from yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was interesting. I was trying to think of who directly that applies to in this episode, or even in this arc. Did you have any thoughts?
I mean, I hate to apply everything to Ahsoka, but it's kind of her arc along with I mean, so, and I don't know that she's even really running from. She is kind of running from herself. She's not really. She's trying to hide her Jedi past, and So I mean there's that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it really comes to play in the end when, Ahsoka's basically trying to run away sort of from being a Jedi. She
Sure.
left the order and everything. But Trace and Rafa especially kind of mentions at the end, like, you're what I would basically want a Jedi to be, and she comes to realize that Ahsoka had good intentions all along, and I think Ahsoka kind of gave them a different viewpoint of the Jedi, because they had been so anti-Jedi before meeting Ahsoka, because of their parents and what happened to them.
Right.
But I think they pretty much encourage Ahsoka to go to Mandalore, and be who she is, and she kind of is a Jedi at heart, So that's kind of what my interpretation of it was.
Yeah. She's a Jedi as they should have been.
Right.
To take a line from Gandalf.
Yes.
All right. I think that about covers Together Again. Next week we start, I've said this a few times, but next week we start Siege of Mandalore, so very excited for that. I saw a quote from Ashley Eckstein that the most epic episodes are still to come.
Yeah,
So-
I just have a feeling this final arc is going to be just fantastic.
Yeah,
And I'm really looking forward to it.
Hopefully it lives up to all the hype, which I don't think it won't, but like
Right.
this has the potential. The Siege of Mandalore has the potential to be like a pivotal Star Wars moment to see that on screen. So
Yeah, and I mean that's one side of the story with Ahsoka and
Mhm.
Maul and Mandalore. I'm wondering what's going to happen on the other side with the
Right.
Jedi and getting close to, Order 66 and everything and the end of the war. So,
yeah.
um, I'm wondering how they're going to kind of wrap up that end of the story as well.
Yep. And we'll find out in a few more days. And until then, you ready to talk about our favorite viewing order for Star Wars?
Yes, let's do it.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
This is actually a question I see a lot, and I'm glad that we're talking about this. There's a few different ways to watch the Star Wars movies and throw the TV shows in there as well. And not even just chronological or release, there's some other ways to watch it as well. So this is a good idea to talk about, and it's something I see a lot, especially with Disney Plus out and people being interested in Mandalorian, and maybe haven't watched the other movies at all, or maybe it's been years since they've watched some of them. So yeah, it's a good conversation. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I agree, Adam. I mean, I think there's a lot of us now have all the Star Wars movies. Maybe you have the box set. Maybe you just have picked them up along the way.
Mhm.
But now that we have the entire Skywalker saga, along with the two standalone movies, Solo and Rogue One, that kind of
Yeah.
fit into that narrative. And what order do we watch them in? So now you own them all. You have them all. What order do you watch them in? So that's going to be our conversation.
Yeah, and I actually have a couple different answers on this one, but yeah, go ahead. Why don't you kick us off?
So I went with just the movies, just the live action movies. I didn't think about the shows really, but I'm sure I could easily insert them into this. But
Mhm.
if I were showing, and I'm thinking about my daughter here, whenever I show her all the movies, what order am I going to show her them? And I think about somebody who's maybe never seen Star Wars. Maybe I meet somebody and they've never seen it. And what order would I tell them to watch it in? So
Mhm.
that's where my mind went first. And so I would actually go with mainly release order, um, but with some slight changes in there, because I would go 4, 5, and 6 first. Um, and just because I wouldn't want to ruin the reveal of who Vader is, and the reveal of the Leia and Luke connection, and all those nice surprises and twists that you get in the original trilogy. So I'd go 4, 5, 6. Then I'd go 1, 2, 3. Then I'd go 7, 8, 9. Solo, and then Rogue One. If it was the first time somebody, or rather Rogue One then Solo, um, at the end, if it was somebody who was watching it for the first time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, this is where one of those two different answers comes in. So a first-time viewer, and maybe it depends on the viewer, because honestly, a younger viewer, I think, definitely release order for me. And
Hmm.
maybe flip around Rogue One and Solo just a bit there. I think maybe you put them at the very end, which is fine.
Yeah.
I might even probably do the same just so you get all the Skywalkers, but you could even slip them in like maybe after the original trilogy, even
Right.
and then get
Right.
into the others. But yeah, first time viewer, definitely I always recommend release order. However, I would put this caveat in, it maybe depends on the person a bit, especially if they're older. Because the I am your father thing has been in pop culture forever. So if you're dealing with an older viewer, chances are like probably 9 out of 10 that they've heard that line somewhere
Right.
throughout their life. So
Hmm.
that reveal I don't think means as much if you're dealing with someone that is older that wants to watch these for the first time. And if you think that maybe they would just benefit from just watching beginning to end, like I'm like my wife, honestly, we're getting ready to show her some stuff because she really has never had an interest in Star Wars. And has watched a little bit of the movies, but not really. And I think that she would benefit from watching them from start to finish, beginning to end, just getting that whole narrative. So I'm kind of debating on if I want to do that with her, or start 4, 5, and 6 with her. But just because the way that I know that she consumes stories, and I think that beginning to end would be better than saying, okay, we're gonna watch this, and then okay, this trilogy takes place before the ones that we watched. And then, okay, so now this is another trilogy, but this takes place 30 years later. And then we have these other 2 movies, and now we have to go back in time to go to get those, So I don't think that would sit well with her, and I think that would actually make it worse for her. So
more confusing, probably.
Yeah. So, but yeah, younger viewers, I definitely would say release order.
Yeah,
and then sprinkle in the Rogue One and wherever you think they fit. So,
one thing I would like to try to do, which I kind of did, but is try the chronological order. And now that I'm watching the Clone Wars, it's kind of putting it a little bit out of order. But I kind of already watched like episode 1 and again, and then episode 2. Then watch the Clone Wars, then watch episode 3.
Yeah, I'm actually starting that now too.
Then do like Solo, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But you could put Rebels in there somewhere too. But
I'm starting that. I watched episode 1 this week, and then I'm going to watch episode 2, and then all of Clone Wars, and then 3, and then all of Rebels, and then 4, 5, 6, and then Mandalorian, and then do Resistance in there, and then 7, 8, 9. So I'm gonna do all that here pretty soon. And so for me, getting into my other answer is, for me personally, I prefer chronological after I've seen it once, and I honestly, my answer for this after you've seen it once is go crazy and do whatever you want to do, and however you like to watch these movies is fine. But I do have one caveat that I'll mention after I let you talk for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think now that I would want somebody to watch it the first time, like the way I experienced it, just because when you watch the original trilogy and then you see, I think prequels are sometimes meant to be seen after you've seen the main story, just to fill in some of those gaps. In the timeline, because George Lucas made 4, 5, and 6 first for a reason, because that was the main story. You know what I mean? Like that was the main thing. And then you go back and you fill in some of those gaps, and answer some of those questions, like how did Anakin become Vader? What was Anakin and Obi-Wan's duel? And what did that look like? All those things that you kind of wonder about, that fill in those gaps. But at this point right now, sometimes I'll just be like, oh, I feel like watching The Last Jedi right now, or I kind of feel like watching Revenge of the Sith right now, so I'm just going to watch it.
Right.
But I would like to, at some point, actually watch everything in chronological order, just to see what that experience is like.
Yeah, that's same here. I wanted to bring up something here. Have you heard of Machete Order?
I have heard of it, though I'm not sure on the details.
So this is something that's been gaining traction lately, and mainly what it does, if you do Machete Order by the book, by how it was originally intended, you start with episode 4 and 5. Then you get to the reveal. True Machete Order cuts out episode 1 entirely. Okay. And then you go 4, 5, 2, 3, and then 6. So what you're doing is you're going, you get the main story up through the reveal, and then after the reveal, you go back and get the backstory of Anakin, and then you go back to 6 to finish it out. Okay.
Huh. It's interesting.
I don't like the idea of cutting out episode 1. and I know that
Right.
a lot of people don't like episode 1, and fine, I get that. I'm not going to champion episode 1, but there are some central aspects to the story that you maybe kind of need, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I go when I go back and watch episode 1, I always end up kind of appreciating it a little
I
bit more
like
than
it
I did
more
before.
yeah.
And I think I actually prefer episode 1 to over episode 2, to be honest, in some aspects.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
me, yeah, definitely.
so so yeah, I would always throw episode 1, keep it in there.
Yeah. So I have seen some modified Machete ones that keep episode 1, and basically it's the same thing. Instead of skipping 1, you put it right after 5. So before 5, and then you go back and do the backstory, and then you finish
Yeah.
off the
Right.
main, the main saga up until 7. So, do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, again, I think that would be definitely for like a viewer like us who've seen them a bunch
Yeah.
of times and just want to try out a different order. For me, it would be kind of weird to go from 4 to 5, then back to 2 and 3, or 1, 2, and 3, and then 6. And it just seems kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, from what I've read about it, and I haven't tried it yet. Maybe one of these days I will. But from what I've read about it, is that it kind of improves the narrative a little bit, because it kind of lets you go back and it instead of trying to watch it the whole way through, it lets you watch the main part of the story, like you said, where 4, 5, and 6 are the main part of the story.
Yeah.
And then almost flashback to what happened before with
Kind of a
Vader. After
flashback,
you
yeah.
find out who Vader is, then you flash back to see what his main story was. So
Yeah, it's an interesting idea for sure. Maybe I'll try that sometime. I just always find that right after I watch The Empire Strikes Back, I always want to watch Return of the Jedi next. You know what I mean? Like right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. So, but for me personally, I prefer release order after I've, if I'm watching it on my own, I prefer release order. I actually prefer Clone Wars in release order. I'm sorry, not release order. Chronological. I totally messed that up. Yeah, I totally prefer chronological, and then it's just a pain to watch Clone Wars in chronological, because I had to have I had to have a spreadsheet with me, and I had to kind of just like, okay.
Right.
After season like 2.5, like somewhere in there, or definitely in season 3, it gets a lot easier because it's mostly chronological after that. But
after that, yeah.
So yeah, so for me, I like to do 1, 2, 3, and if I'm throwing TV shows in there, then I do 1, 2, Clone Wars 3, Rebels, 4, 5, 6. I haven't watched Resistance yet, but I'm gonna put that in. Is Resistance after 7?
It's yeah, I think it's
Or is it after like 7, 8?
it kind of I think it's after. It's actually, some of it happens during 7.
Okay. All right.
And some of it happens like right leading up to 8 and everything, or even kind of like right after the battle above Dakar, when they're trying to escape in The Last Jedi.
Right.
It kind of overlaps 7 and 8 a bit. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my release order, and you said yours is mostly release.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with
Okay.
you. I think the consensus from us seems to be, the first time you're watching it, especially release order, especially if you don't know the reveals, and then if you're watching it again, maybe try chronological.
Cool. And
I'm with you.
Scarif in chat says confirms that Resistance is at the same time, and
Yeah.
lead up to TFA, and Charles says his next task is watching the Clone Wars in chronological. I actually really prefer. I like it a lot better. It's a lot easier to follow, but it does take some effort. So
Yeah.
So I think this time through, I'll just let it play, just because I've done it once. So yeah, and World Farm Boy also says Resistance starts just before TFA and then meets Rise of Skywalker.
Right. Yeah. There's
Cool.
Yeah, it happens like kind of side by side with some of those events in the movies.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. Awesome. Anything else to add about viewing orders?
No, I just want to go like
Watch
do
them
this
now.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
So,
I was
yeah.
trying to save my total chronological watch through until after Clone Wars is out, but I couldn't wait. So
Right.
I
Right.
started it this week, and it'll probably take me a few weeks to watch all of Clone Wars anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll get there.
Yep.
Cool. And Cam Ray and Chad is also watching Clone Wars chronologically. So have fun with that.
Nice. Yes.
Have fun. I like it a lot. So cool. Well, you ready to wrap up episode 24?
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
I'm just glad you're here. At the end.
All right, thanks again for joining us. If you guys were in the live chat, thank you for hanging out and chatting with us. It was a lot of fun seeing everybody there and seeing all the comments and stuff. So thanks to Cam Ray, Charles Westcott, Mr. Rez, Rural Farm Boy, and Scarif Scuttlebutt for hanging out with us today. It was really nice having all of you. If you're listening or just watching live, or if you're just listening to this and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. We are on all major podcatchers and iTunes, Google, and Spotify for sure. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on iTunes, make sure you leave us a review, or Spotify, whatever. Make sure you leave us a review. It definitely helps get us out to more people, get more people listening and more people joining in, and and discovering what we're doing and what we're about here. So make sure you check out the website FromACertainPointOfView.com, where we have blog articles and some other stuff that we're doing. There's links to all of the ways you can contact us, which I'll go over here in a second. There's a link to the book club, which we do on Discord. Socials are Twitter is Certain POV Pod. Facebook is From a Certain Point of View. Our Discord server link is always in the show notes, and it's always on the website as well. And email is certainpovpod@gmail.com. And we are also hosted by Anchor.fm, where you can follow us and even send us a voicemail, which we didn't get any last week, and I was a little sad.
Oh man.
But
Hopefully
yeah,
we'll get one soon.
we'll extend that offer, and if you do have any ways that the Star Wars franchise or fandom has positively impacted your life, send us a voicemail, tell us about it, and we'll play it on the show. So, but we do actually have some Triveaway winner to announce, and
Yes.
That winner was Matt Skywalker.
Wow. You got it?
Yeah, I got it. And I haven't heard back from Matt yet, but Matt, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you let us know. And actually, I lied. Yeah, Matt did get back to us, so congrats, Matt Skywalker, for winning the lithograph, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And the question was, who composed Jabba Flow, which was played in Maz Kanata's castle in The Force Awakens. This
Mhm.
person also had a brief cameo in The Rise of Skywalker, and the answer was Lin-Manuel Miranda. So, who is one of my
Awesome.
favorite composers for both, movies and Broadway with Hamilton and everything. He's just an amazing talent. So that was our answer. And as
Awesome.
soon as I get my envelope to mail out this lithograph, it's on my Walmart pickup order.
And yeah, nice.
I will be sending that out.
Nice, as long as everything's not closed by tomorrow, I guess. So,
Right. Right.
hopefully the
Exactly.
post office stays open. So
Yes.
cool. All right. Thanks, Matt, and thanks everyone for responding. We had a lot of interaction and engagement on that tweet. So I'm glad you all enjoyed that, and we'll have to find something else to give away here soon.
Yes, and as always, thank you so much for hanging out with us, whether it was on YouTube or on Facebook, for listening to the podcast, for just interacting on Twitter. We really appreciate all of you out there, and we love being a part of this Star Wars community. Adam, did you have anything to add before we go today?
Nope. Just once again, thanks everyone for hanging out. Still see comments rolling in on YouTube. It feels really good to see that. So Thanks to
Yes,
all our
indeed.
friends out there. Scarif says make a crossover episode soon, brothers, and I agree. We'll definitely have to do that. That sounds like a blast. So
Sounds good to me. And everything we told you today was true.
from a certain point of view. All right. Stop the edit. Stop the recording. Cool.
Okay.
We actually came in under an hour this week.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sometimes it's good just to have a
Yeah.
succinct hour long or less episode.
Yeah, we haven't been able to do that the last few weeks, which is fine.
Right.
So, well, I just want to thanks again to everyone on YouTube. It was a blast seeing you all to hang out today.
Definitely. Some good conversations going on in the live
Yeah,
chat there.
for sure.
Yes.
So I know Royal Farm Boy said there was another live show right after us, probably at 3. I'm not sure which one that was. I haven't been on Twitter today, but if you can let us know, then we'll let everyone know to head over there too. I'm not sure if he's still here or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, and just checking Twitter. It's actually Star Wars Friends. So if you guys want to check out Star Wars Friends,
Star
head
Wars
over there.
Friend. Yeah.
So cool.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna just call it a day here, and
Yep.
we'll end the live stream. Thanks for hanging out. May the Force be with y'all.
Yeah, guys, have a great week. Stay healthy, stay safe.
Absolutely, stay home if you can.
Yep.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.